All right, everybody, welcome back again to the Basement Binge, one of these quarantine specials. I think that's what we called it. This week, kind of continuing with the theme of viruses, we watched I Am Legend. But my name is Harrison.
I'm Kelton.
And I'm Cade. Let's get to it.
And this is the Basement Binge spoiler wall, which is our spoiler-free, minute-long reaction to the movie, followed by our answer to a question, would we recommend it? And I'll go first. Little insight to me before I start, though. I've never seen this movie before now. This was my first time seeing the movie, so I may be in the same boat as some of you. But I will start this timer, and here we go. Okay, so I said this to both Kate and Kelton before we started the podcast. This movie started really on a high for me. Like, from the opening scene, my expectations were really, really high, and then they dropped down really, really low, and I kind of disliked it, and then they kind of ended in a medium. But overall, this movie, I didn't really particularly feel as a drama, which I feel like some people say it's like, oh, it's a better drama than an action movie, but I felt like it was more of a thriller than anything else. I didn't really connect with the emotion or the drama, just like the intensity and thrillerness of it. But I really did enjoy it. Will Smith is super great in it. He's like the only character in the whole movie pretty much, and he's great. The story and concept is really cool. The music is great. Like, it was definitely intense to watch, and like I was really invested in like the intensity and kind of on the edge of my seat in a lot of good moments, and it was well done. Man, there's a lot of things that I can't say without spoiling it. So to answer the question, would I recommend it, because my minute's ending right here, yeah, I'd recommend it, especially if you haven't seen it before. I think it's worth the watch. I mean, it's on Amazon Prime right now. If you have Amazon Prime, go stream it. But yeah, I think it's worth a watch, especially if you haven't seen it before. I'm still kind of undecided if it's worth a rewatch, so you guys might sway me on that because I haven't quite solidified my opinion. But if you haven't seen it, I think it's worth watching one time if you're into the type of action thriller type movie with Will Smith.
All right. Kay, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. Okay, so this movie came out in 2008. Is that right? I can't remember what time it actually came out. It's been quite a while since it came out, so it's a kind of an older movie. And I realized that that movie, it's impressive. Like, you can know when something's like CGI for sure, but the story of it isn't lost. And so this movie, in my opinion, is one of Will Smith's classic movies that you kind of just have to collect if you're a big fan of Will Smith and his work. It's a thriller suspense movie. Now, that being said, the longevity of it is a little interesting because I haven't watched it in a few years. And so me watching it again, I don't remember things I remember are blurry. I know this happens, but not how it goes down. And so I still enjoyed the movie. I still felt the suspense and the thrill from watching the movie. I would recommend this movie to those who really look for that, but also this is a solid movie for like your buddies. With family, I'm not so sure because it's still very much like a suspense movie, so you can get kind of scared. But that's my spoiler wall.
All right.
All right, Kelton, that leaves you.
All right, let's do this. Okay. I freaking love this movie, guys. This has been one of my favorites for a long time. Part of it is because this type of movie, this thriller, suspenseful, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So being able to watch this is, and like I remember Kate and I actually ended up watching it together. After a certain scene, I was like, oh my gosh, like I've seen this like 8 times, and my heart is beating right now. Like I can hardly breathe. Like it was just so intense, and I found myself like really just wrapped up in the whole movie. I was really caught up in it, and even though I knew exactly what was going to happen, like how it was going to go down, I think a big part of that goes into how they set up each scene, as well as the lighting and what you know. I think this movie does a really cool job of breaking down what you know as the movie goes along. Because like right from the beginning, you don't really know exactly what's happening. Like you just, and so it makes it very interesting and fun to watch. I could see why that would take away from the rewatchability later on. Dang it! But I would totally recommend this movie. Great date night movie, great buddy movie, whatever you want. But I agree with Cade, not a family movie.
All right, everybody. That is the Basement Binge spoiler wall. So if you have not seen this movie, clearly recommend it. Especially if you're into this type of movie, which all three of us are. So yeah, also subscribe for more. We got a lot of great podcasts coming out. Captain Marvel in our MCU binge that we've been talking about. In addition, part of our quarantine special, we're going to be getting into some more recent movies that came out last year. So subscribe for that. But if you want a little detail about what we're revealing our next episode, go check out our Audiograph. They're pretty great podcast listening site where you can get kind of exclusive access to some of our segments and some notes and kind of preview things. So yeah, if you want a sneak peek into what's happening next week, go check out that. But anyway, on to the regular scheduled program.
Let's do this. All right, everybody. It's time for our 2 cents. We all get 2 minutes to talk about our first initial impression. So I want to go first. When you guys got a timer ready? All right. Okay, like I said in spoiler wall, this movie is sick. I have loved this movie. I remember the first time first memory of this, my parents went to the movie theaters and they told us about it. I was like, wow, it's super intense. I was like, crap, I really want to see this. Because this came out when I was 9 years old or so. I was young, maybe 10 or 11. And I really wanted to watch it. And then I remember my grandma, she bought it when it came out on DVD. And everyone was watching it downstairs at my grandma's house. Like my whole extended family. And I was down there. I was like, this is sick. I'm going to watch I Am Legend, that movie my parents talked about. And then my mom came downstairs and she got pissed at me because she didn't want me to see it because it was like super scary. And I got into nightmares from Signs, like a not as scary movie, so she wouldn't let me watch it. And I was super pissed. And I was like, what the heck, Mom? And so finally, like a year later, my mom finally let me watch it. And so I finally did. And ever since, I've watched this 8 times. And man, I forgot how sick the introduction is. I love the whole layout. Talking news, and then we see they're talking about this cure. Oh, I've cured cancer. And then it's just boom, silence. You see the title come in, and then you see 3 years later, and you just see, an apocalyptic New York. You're like, what the freak just happened, dude? You have no idea what's happening, and then you just see, sports car come up. I don't know. Just the whole vibe of the movie was really captured, I think, in that first scene. And it just hooked me every time. Even though I watched this, I think, a year ago. It was just fantastic. And oh my gosh, this movie plays with your emotions. There's a couple good chuckle scenes, but man, I get so sad watching this movie. Cause when freaking Sam dies, I teared up again. It's so sad, and it totally I could totally connect with the character. Or I at least could see why he does some of the things he does at that point. But wow, I love this movie. Go watch it.
Okay, I'll go next. Okay, this movie, so here's the premise. So I don't own this movie, and so I had to go watch the movie with Kelton. So we were both kind of watching it together, and it felt kind of good to do that. But it's dang, this intro just sets the tone. The whole movie, it's we found this cure to cancer because it's the worst thing ever. Turns out it's just horrible. How it's just, how it all fell apart and everything. And, but the setup movie of how Will Smith or Robert Neville lives and survives in New York. He is a genius in every way. And how smart, he's got generators, he uses bleach to cover his tracks because the creatures can track you down, and he's doing trials for the vaccine. He's just this massive genius who's surviving with his best friend, his dog, Sam. And it's, oh my gosh, it's just there's no way anything can go wrong. But then everything goes wrong, and things are falling apart, and it's oh my gosh, you are so scared. Here's the thing though, the feeling of being scared in this movie is a little different from actual horror movies, because horror movies it's meant to be scary, has different sort of vibe to it. When you approach this movie, it's all about suspense, because it's they put the character in this scenario where he's in trouble, he has to get out of there, but you don't know. If he does this simple action, you don't know if it's gonna fall apart or if it's gonna. You just don't know. You really just don't know for a good 5, 6, 7 minutes, you just don't really know what's going on, and you're just freaking out. You're like, oh my gosh, and so your heart's just beating so quick because it's so intense. So this movie is one of the greatest movies in my opinion. It's just such a classic if you really get caught into the suspense.
Okay, I guess that leaves me here. Again, I'd never seen this movie before this watch, and I totally agree with Kelton. This movie opens in like one of the best ways I've seen a movie open in a long time. And so I already had good expectations from what you guys have told me about it and what I've heard about it. And then it starts and the credits haven't even finished and there's like newscasting over it and like just the tone and mood it sets, like, yeah, we cured cancer, to like boom, silence, post-apocalyptic New York with Will Smith and his dog. Like, it just is a super, super good intro to the movie and like really raised my expectations instantly. And like probably in like 3 minutes of the film, I was ready to say, like, on the podcast, I was expecting to say like, this is going to be my top 10 because it just was like opened so good. And then it just like kind of struggled from then on for me. And I'll just say this now. I'm probably just a heartless person, but like the emotion did not connect with me at all. Like that scene where Sam dies, like I knew it was sad and like I wanted to feel sad and wanted to feel the emotion with Will Smith's character, and I just like didn't. Like, you know when you like, I just like wanted to connect with the emotion, but I just couldn't. Maybe I'm just heartless. Who knows? But the thriller, like actiony, like intense part of it is what kept me going the whole time. And so maybe that's why I'm having more of a problem with it, because I feel like this movie is more of a drama than it is a thriller, and the drama emotion part of it didn't really connect with me. So it's mainly just a thriller for me. So yeah, I can't really decide where it happened, but it just kind of went downhill for me, and I just was like, oh man, this movie's not as good as I expected. But the whole time, but there was never a moment where like I wasn't enjoying it. Like I enjoyed it all the way through, but just as expectations went down a little bit. Yeah. So I got 10 seconds to say something. But Will Smith is great. That's what I was going to say. Will Smith, like, to be a solo cast in this movie, pretty much, he carries it super, super well. And I love his character, like Kate said. So I'll throw in my little section here because I've never seen the movie before. Our section, Does It Live Up? So we talk about kind of why we picked the movie, the expectations the person not seen it had, and if it lived up to those expectations. But I want to ask you guys, like, I know you guys have mentioned this movie so many times before, particularly Kelton talks about how much he loves it. Like, I know you kind of said it in your 2 cents, but like, what is like one thing that you like watch it so frequently, or like why would you want to share it? Because you mentioned it frequently, so like what was your reason?
Yeah, of like why I've watched it so many times.
Yeah, why you watched it so many times, but also like both of you guys can answer this. Like you two like heavily recommended this movie almost from the beginning of the podcast. Like why was it such a high frequent recommend for you guys over so many other things?
I would say probably this is one of the first movies I watched that was a thriller. And so it made me like fall in love with the genre. And so being, I don't know, just the whole idea of where I get to watch someone live and like do something so like intense. I don't know, the way I see movies, I just really connect with characters that way. I feel like I'm living in the moment. Like for me, like it's like the same when I read a book. At least when I read a book, I feel like I am living life through the character's eyes. And so, like, I'm totally, like, sucked into the world, or it's, like, kind of weird to, like, take a step back and, like, stop reading a book or something. And I feel like with the thriller genre, I feel like I'm in the very same, like, situation. So, like, watching Will Smith sneak through this freaking blacked out, like, warehouse bank thing, you know, with the light, and he keeps covering it, and, like, he's trying to find his dog, and he knows there's, like, something in the freaking mansion or whatever. And he's just going through, like, I don't know, I just really get, like, sucked into that. Like I start holding my breath, and I just like riveted on what is happening. And so this, I say I've watched this so many times is because this is the first movie that started me loving thrillers and like suspenseful films.
All right.
Well, for me, it was like the reason why I connect with this movie so much is because I don't know. For me, like there's times where you kind of daydream, you kind of doze off and just kind of think about like, what would happen if like it was the end of the world? What would I do? I would get an assault rifle, a machine gun, and I would just like bunker down and have a dog. Like it's just like kind of like what I would imagine. So seeing that they made a movie out of this is like, oh, this is so cool. It's Will Smith, my favorite character, or my favorite actor, and it's like I want to see him. How does he pull it off? It's like, whoa, I'd totally do that. I would hunt for deers in New York. Oh yeah, I'd totally do that. And like, you know, it's such an interesting topic, and the way and the whole story and how it wraps around it. It's also one of my first thrillers of the movie, so to me, it's a classic thriller. But man, it's just one of those movies where if they just did something differently, kind of like Revenge of the Sith and Infinity War, where like if they just did something, if they just did this just a little different, they could win, or they would avoid this scenario where someone wouldn't die or something like that. And that's one of those movies for me. It's like I can watch it again. It's like I'm hoping that they change it, but even though it doesn't, it's just a good. It's one of the greatest stories, in my opinion.
I forgot to mention this movie is actually based off of a book. And the book is completely different than the movie. I don't want to spoil the book for anyone, but the ending is huge. Like it's like a crazy ending that like blows your mind. It's complete. The movie doesn't even touch up on like the ending of the book because it's nuts, and it's very different from the movie. So if you guys like, I'd say if you did enjoy the movie or if you didn't, like it'd be really cool to go check out and read the book as well. I think it's called just I Am Legend, the same. But yeah, I found the movie more interesting for me, but I still very much enjoyed the book too. So if you guys should check out the book as well because it's pretty cool.
All right, so to my expectations, what kind of were they going in, and did it live up to them? I'm curious though. Before I get into that, did you guys know that there's an alternate ending movie version of this?
Is it like the animated one?
No, it's got Will Smith in it. Like it's Warner Brothers made, or whoever made this movie made an alternate ending to it.
I did not know that. I have not seen this.
I've seen the animated one.
If you Google it and just type in I Am Legend alternate ending, they even have like a DVD, like Blu-ray release of the alternate ending. You can even like rent it on Amazon, the alternate ending. So I only knew that because when I was looking to get this movie on Amazon, I knew it was on Amazon Prime, so I clicked on it, went to watch it, and then like underneath it has the suggestions, and it said I Am Legend alternate ending. I was like, what? So then I like did some Googling and figured it out, and like I didn't watch anything. I didn't know what it was. I just knew that there was an alternate ending that was produced and made. So I think that drastically, and I'm bringing this up because I feel like the viewing experience of the first time you watch a movie drastically changes your expectations forever. So like I watched the movie expecting it for it to end in a way where I needed an alternate ending, where like the movie would end in a way that they would grant a reason that the studio would go ahead and make an alternate ending. So I was like almost like expecting it to be bad, so that like you know what I mean? Like, oh, if there's an alternate ending out there, there's got to be a reason that it was made. It's probably just not good. So like I was just waiting for it to be bad. So it ended. I watched the movie, disliked the ending, went and watched the alternate ending, and then hated the alternate ending, and then realized that the original ending was way better, and that I wish I wouldn't have known about the alternate ending and just like accepted the original as the end, because I feel like I would have responded to it much better. Because in thinking about it, like it is an actually good ending. I have a lot of positive things to say about the ending, but like I feel like that drastically affected the way I thought about the movie, because I was waiting for it to be bad at some point so that I could go and watch the later made thing that was better, if that makes sense. And it was totally the other way around. So that kind of affected it. So my expectations were actually kind of high from you guys. I just like knew that it was the type of genre, like thriller, suspenseful action movie that we like. We all like kind of like the post-apocalyptic sci-fi movies. I know we're kind of in the same thing, so I was expecting it to be really good. And then it started, and that like skyrocketed my expectations. And then I think I just raised them too high. It just didn't live up to them. But it was good. Like, I'm not saying that it was bad. I just realized I had really, really high expectations for it, while also like having the expectation that it would fail at the end and that I would need an alternate ending. I don't know. It was just weird. So yeah, that's kind of, does it live up? I don't know. In a weird kind of way, yes, it does. But in another way, no, it doesn't. Yeah. So yeah, if you're curious, go watch the alternate ending. So... Actually, no, don't. It's not good. No, I take that back. Don't watch the alternate ending. It is not worth it.
I think I'm going to now, just because like I love this movie, and just for the sake of the movie, I got to see like what else they came up with and see if I like it or not. So I wonder if the alternate ending follows the book. I doubt it, but I'm gonna go check it out.
So I'm curious. I'll have to ask you after you watch it if it follows the book, because I'm curious.
How long is it? Do you know? Is it like 15 minutes or something?
Like 5 minutes. Like five.
Okay.
I know that the scene on YouTube isn't like the full thing. Like it cuts off like the first minute, and like it. No matter, I'm sure I'd buy it and it would have a different ending, but like it like ends incompletely. Like I'm like, okay, this part of the movie is. I'm trying not to spoil it, but like, okay, this isn't gonna spoil anything. But the part of the movie at the end where he blows up himself with a grenade and like self-sacrifices, that part is completely different. But it just ends right there. Like something in that moment is different, and then it ends. So like the scene with the colony at the end like isn't even a thing, at least in the alternating. So like it, although I don't like the alternating, I have a lot of questions. Like, so do you just end the movie there? But like, what? You know, do you cut off that like last minute? I don't know. It's kind of weird. So yeah, I'm just curious. We'll have to talk about it after. I'm curious what you think.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm watching it right now, actually.
Your face like showed that you weren't paying attention, and I was like, "What is he doing?" You're watching the alternating. That's funny.
Dang. Well,
it's like 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes.
Frank, I kind of want to watch it live right now too.
Okay, just go watch it, then we can talk about it. Because I feel like it like really, genuinely, really affected my way going through this movie. Because the whole time I was like, it's got to be bad. It's got to end on a bad note. That there was a reason that the studio would make another ending. Like, and then you watch it, and I'm like, that was awful. Why didn't I just stick with the original ending? You know what? You see what I mean?
What the? What?
Don't say anything. I'm watching it.
Okay. Do we want to pause and wait, or?
So Kelton, don't spoil the book, because I'm probably gonna read it. But like, was that alternate ending closer or further away to the book?
Closer.
Okay. Interesting.
But it wasn't it. But it was definitely closer.
I'm glad that wasn't it, because I hated that ending.
That was weird. Like.
Yeah, the alternate one.
I was so confused.
I feel like that ending took away from the entire movie.
Yeah,
so
like
everybody,
it was like so different. Like they wanted to do like exceed expectations, or was like subvert expectations, where like take a complete different direction. But like it was like this, it was super intense, that whole ending scene, and then it was like, oh, we just want the alpha female, just give it back to us, and we won't touch you when you're giving it back to us, and we're actually kind of human, and we're just monsters or animals practically. It's just kind of like
yeah, everybody go watch the alternate ending, because we're totally going to spoil it here. If you don't want to go watch the alternate ending, I'll just explain super quick. At that end scene where the crazy dude is banging on the glass and it turns into a butterfly, instead of Will Smith's character turning around and seeing the butterfly on Anna's neck, he sees a butterfly. Or no, it's different. The like alpha dude, the dude who like ran out in the sun, he like draws a butterfly with his own blood on the glass. And then Will Smith turns and looks at like the monster that he's been experimenting on and sees a butterfly tattoo on her neck. So like the dude just wants his wife back, which I kind of like. I knew like from the second that dude ran out into the sun on purpose, I knew that he was going to be connected to the one that Will took from the beginning. But anyway, so then Robert, or Will Smith's character, whatever his name is, pushes the little thing, like experimentation table out, gives it back to the dude. They have like some weird like love, like human moment, and Will Smith's character realizes that they're a little more human than he thought. And then that's the less that I saw. Like maybe I didn't get the rest of it, but that was everything that I saw. Like it just kind of ends there. Like they just walk away with the alpha female.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of things I didn't like. First off, I didn't like the close-ups of the zombies, or of the infected people, because it made them look like zombies. Like their mouths are open, they're just like, and it was weird. It did not fit the rest of the vibe, I think, of how they were portrayed in the movie. So I thought that was super strange. And then I think that completely sends a whole different message about the movie. It completely negates the entire reason of why he had flashbacks of his family, and like, I don't know. I did not like that. I could see where they're coming from, but it just takes away from the whole movie. I feel like that ending needs a different movie.
Yeah, I agree. Because I was gonna say it for All In, but I'll say it now. Like, I felt like this movie showed Will Smith struggling with the loss of his wife and like feeling a responsibility that he himself took upon himself to save mankind and to keep that promise to his daughters that he's going to make the monsters go away. Like, that's why he's stuck around and keeps living for 3 years. Isn't just because he wants to live with his dog Sam. Like Sam serves a more like momentary need that he has, but like his long-term living purpose is to cure the monsters like he promised his daughter. And then like he succeeds at that to the point where like he gives his life and becomes the legend that the movie is named after by creating a cure and giving it to Anna and letting them escape. Like, he succeeds and becomes a legend because of it. Where with the alternate ending, like, he becomes the monster. Like, he's the bad guy because he's been experimenting on these people that are somehow now human, and despite how many people they killed, like, that makes him the bad guy. It's just like, what the heck? Like, where did that come from? Like, I Am the Monster should be the name of the movie at that point. Like, it just ruins everything.
I really want you guys to read the book now. Gosh dang it, dude. It's
I've read, like, I almost finished the book, then for some reason I wasn't able to finish it, but I read the beginning parts of it. I know in the book, this doesn't spoil at all, but he has a drinking problem in the book. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, what's weird though is that the monsters are portrayed differently. They're more made out to be like vampires. But they're still like, they talk to like Robert Neville and stuff.
Oh, Robert, that's
it's really weird.
So, yeah. Okay, I'm probably not going to read the book for a long time. So, Kelton, if you don't mind, Cade, I want Kelton to tell us what he thinks with his insights of the book. Everybody else, if you don't want the book, skip ahead to 2843.
Yeah. Cade, are you cool with me telling the ending? Okay. All right, so what if I read this back in like 8th grade, so this is based off memory. But what happens is that these vampire things keep trying to like get him to come out so they could turn him into a vampire, and he never listens. And then I think he's like killing a bunch. Something's happening, and all of a sudden, like the government shows up, and like they lock him in this room, and he's all like trying to figure out what the heck's going on. Like, there's people alive that are like normal, but they're all like, they're weird. Like, they're not like, they're human, but they're kind of not. If I remember it, they're like pale. They're all like super pale. And then they basically come in and they tell him like, that he is now the virus, kind of like that humans have basically like evolved in this, and they're still human. It's just a different way of life, and he's the one like refusing to move on. So he is made like, it's kind of like like he's made out to be like kind of like the monster, and like how the book ends is like he's talking about like, I am the last one, I am the last human, I am legend. Like, that's kind of how like the book ends. But it's really weird because it like throws it back. It's like you're totally on his side the entire time, and then like the way the book breaks it down is like, these people show up, it's like, you're ruining the way of life, like, this is how life is, like, they lock him up in this room, and they're, like, basically saying he's the monster kind of thing. If that is, I know that's the general idea, I'm sure it's phrased a lot better, and it makes a lot more sense when you read the book. I'm sure you could just look it up, too, on, like, Spark Notes or something, but, yeah, that's how the book ends.
Dang, that kind of, like, fits, like, what I felt like they were trying to do at the end, that, like...
Yeah.
That almost, like... the monsters or beasts or vampires, whatever they are, like, they had evolved and had become the new normal or the new human, and Will Smith's character was the one that was now the deadly virus who was refusing to move on, you know, like...
Yeah, kind of, that's, like, the vibe of the book.
And that, like, he was a legend in a bad way. Like, instead of being the legend in a positive way at the end of the movie, he's now a legend in the bad way. Yeah. But, interesting.
Yeah, like I said, I've always liked the movie a lot more. I like the ending more. I didn't like the book when, I don't know, when you kind of get that wild ending like that, you kind of feel like, like kind of at a loss.
Their expectations are subverted like, so much.
Really?
You're like,
what? I don't know, it's a little unsatisfying, and it's hard to like read a book like a character where it's like, oh, he's the hero, he's trying to survive, and then at the end being told he's a bad guy, and you're like, huh? So, I still liked the book. It was fun to read, but I've loved the movie infinitely more. But yeah, the alternate ending's whack. I could, like I said, I see where they're trying to go with it, but it just sent a lot of different messages that I feel like did not go along with the entire movie at all.
So, I'll kind of get this when we move on to Pick Your Poison, but I want to give this movie another chance later. Like, not tomorrow, not in a few weeks, like a year from now. When I've realized that the alternate ending was stupid and it wasn't worth the time that I gave it, and like just, kind of let myself move on from this bad experience I had with it because I was so focused on the alternate ending that ended up being horrible, and like come back to it. I think my opinion of the movie would be much better when I give it a second chance. But I know that it's gonna take a while for me to get there.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, that was a weird vibe, not gonna lie, that was kinda whack.
Like, what the heck? This is
yeah, whatever, I mean, what you gonna do? Alright, I think we're ready for Pick Your Poison.
Yeah, let's move on. This is the segment where we choose how worthy is this movie for whether you never watch it again, you watch it on a streaming service such as Amazon Prime, as we mentioned earlier, and to rent it, spend a couple of bucks to watch it, or to buy it yourself. I'll start first with my poison. I'll pick buying this movie because, this podcast was a little interesting because it was an alternate ending with everything and all, but like the movie as itself, coming home, like the movie ended and I just kind of sat back in my seat like, I need to buy this movie. I've been wanting to buy this movie so I can watch it whenever I want because it's such a good movie. It's just solid. Like, it's just one of those movies where it's almost kind of a culture kind of thing because it was made in 2007. 2007. And the way that it was made was so good, and so I want to buy this movie. I've been wanting to buy this movie for a while. It took me forever. I didn't watch it when it straight came out. I was kind of the same thing with Kelton. Our mom was a little hesitant in having us watch this movie because it was really intense and scary. Because back then, I don't know if anyone knows the movie Signs. I forgot who's ever in it. I think it's got Joaquin Phoenix in it. And but it's, as a kid watching that, we watched that movie as a kid, and that freaked us out. And so when this movie came along, and Mom was like, "Okay, you probably shouldn't watch this movie because that scared you," but she was wrong, and we both love this movie. But I want to buy it, and I forgot that I love this movie, so that's my poison. What do you got, Kelton?
This is a buy, straight up, simple as that. I want to own this movie.
All right, I guess that leaves me. So I will, at this point in time, it would be a pretty close never watch again, maybe teetering towards stream. But I want to like this movie more. So I'm going to promise myself that it's a rent, and I'll put a reminder in my phone for like a year from now to rewatch this movie because I want to like it. Like, this is the genre that I like. I like Will Smith. I know you guys like it. And I just feel like my experience of it was so negatively impacted by that alternate ending, and I also set my expectations way too high with that opening, and it just like led to a bad experience. So for now, I'll give it a rent. I will watch it later because I want to like it, not because I do right now, but because I want to. So all right, I guess we'll just move on to binge points now. So this is Easter eggs, details, fun things we notice in the movie that are of significance or not at all. I'll go first. This movie was made in 2007, but the time frame is 2012. So I guess the movie was predicting that in 2012 there was going to be a Batman v Superman movie, which I didn't realize until the end, until now talking about it. This movie is made by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is the studio that also has the rights to the DC movies and made Batman v Superman. So maybe they were like advertising their own plans for the future, like, hey, everybody, in 2012 we're going to have a Batman v Superman movie.
Did they? Did that movie come out? It came out much later, right?
Like 2017 or 18 or something like that. So yeah, that was it. One
thing I noticed is like in that movie is the camera angles are so like important of how they, it's just so. Oh, I love how they angle stuff. Like one point where his dog dies and they have the camera kind of like in front of the car, and the car stops and it keeps moving away. and that scene is kind of long, just so like it's just Robert Neville just feels so empty because he lost his best friend, but also when in the very beginning when he's working out, he opens the fridge to go grab something out of there, and you see on the fridge where it shows his face on the Time magazine saying "Savior?" ? And so you can't your eyes draw attention to that, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, there was actually another scene like that when he's raiding one of the houses. He opens a cupboard and it shows a picture of the rabid dogs, like the zombie dogs, and that's for the first time we learned that we're like dogs can get infected, and so that's a setup for later on when we know like Sam gets hurt by infected dogs and eventually turns into an infected dog. But yeah, there were like a lot of scenes like that too. Like, I don't know, for some reason there's one scene I love when Robert Neville is hunting the deer right after he's hitting golf balls off of the jet, and he's going down with Sam, and he tells Sam to follow the deer, and that's when Sam runs into the building. But like right after he tells Sam to like run off, he does like the sound thing. But like when he steps off the car to go keep hunting, like it goes inside the car and we get to see his foot step on the windshield and it cracks and like he keeps going. I don't know, that sounds like a super stupid thing to like, but I thought that was really cool. I feel like it added to the scene and kind of to the whole feel of there are like no rules now, like how different society is that you can just walk on cars and break. I don't know. It sounds super dumb to voice, but I still feel like it added to the scene and that I enjoyed.
When that happened, I kind of noticed. So everything was going fine. His life, like he found a deer, he can keep going. He can go hunting with his dog, and then he walks over the car, and the windshield breaks, and then after that, his whole world's kind of like twisted up now. Where the dog runs into the building, he's like, "Oh crap!" Like kind of crap hits the fan when that windshield cracks. It's kind of like it's this world that Robert Neville made, and now there's a hole in it, and now everything's falling apart.
Yeah, but one thing we're on binge points now, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
One thing I also really liked was how much thought and like writing went into I feel like this sanity part. Like, of how Will Smith or Robert Neville was dealing with being in isolation or, like, 3 years alone with just his dog. Every human is gone, and he is fighting against, like, an infected group of people. Like, you see there's so many moments of where things he has done to, like, I don't know, live as a human. Like, because every human has needs, and, like, you need that social aspect. So, like, when he goes to the video store to rent a movie, he sets up mannequins, and he talks to them, which, oh, that's crazy. But, like, it was necessary for him to be able to cope and, like, live and keep doing what he was doing. Or, like, how he would talk to his dog and, like, chat with him, which I'm sure all of us even do that now, like, not even apocalyptic anything. But I think, I thought it was really cool. It's very realistic how that showed how Robert Neville needed to do certain things to, like, to be able to cope and like continue surviving.
Yeah, like he can just take all the movies home with him and watch it, but he set up the DVD store, had movies there, set up mannequins so he can go to the store to get a movie, just like that normal feel, and then talk to those mannequins. Like that's great writing.
I also love like how much detail went into like his taste in Bob Marley and the naming his daughter Marley. Like I there's just like a lot of moments where it's like simple things that you could pass over add like a lot of details that like that, like what am I trying to say here? The way the movie goes and the way it ends, you don't need, like, the mannequin was kind of important because that's kind of how he gets caught, but that could have happened in so many different ways. Like, the mannequins in the movie store and him talking to them, not super important. Like, there's different ways that those events could have been brought out, but it, like, adds so much realness and, like, good writing to the character of Robert. And, like, also just, like, the character of a human. I really, really like that.
Yeah, that makes me think about, as we see, you know, you could really get super complex here, But as you see the difference in like a human, and because we know, and the human and the infected, because we know Robert never brings up like all like social tendencies of being human is completely absent. Like, so you could see it kind of just is a good contrast to see what humans do and what needs we have compared to like someone who doesn't have those.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys, me and Kelton caught up on it, but Robert Neville has OCD. And like that helped him. Like when he was setting up his food storage, he took off a can of something and he put another one on. And like he moves it so the label is facing toward him. And like when the girl and the kids show up at his house, they set up like a meal for him. And he sits down and he moves the cups in a certain way and the napkins and the plate. Like he adjusts it. So I noticed that he had OCD almost. Or he did.
Yeah, and we figured out
how that helped. That could possibly help you.
That adds so much more to the character. That's cool. Like not just like the little things he does, but like the emotion behind the character. That's really cool.
Yeah, and we Kid and I talked about how like that would totally be like a benefit, an apocalypse kind of thing, because it would really help you like be prepared. Which we see Robert Neville had like rigged his house with spotlights, with explosives. He had a grenade like in some random drawer downstairs. He had like guns all throughout the house, like, and also like the food storage. He's going to be able to survive off that for years and like live, and like just his whole organized way like really adds to why he's been able to survive for so long, why he's been able to do so much. I'm sure he's the kind of guy, if he needs to do something to survive, he'll research up on it, learn about it, see what he needs to do. Like, is this guy, he's making a vaccine. This guy, he knows how to like disguise himself, like get rid of his scent. He knows how to like operate a gun, search houses, like cook, like he's just doing everything. He's like the perfect like survivalist guy. So I don't know, I thought it was pretty cool to like see that he was OCD and like kind of the tendencies he had.
I also loved how the movie didn't reveal like everything all at once of why he's surviving. Like the first thing, like one of my first questions is like, how come he didn't get infected? Like how he's survived for 3 years without getting infected, and it's because he's immune. But like they didn't reveal that until later. Like it would have been really easy to have the Star Wars text crawl where it explains every capacity and reason that he explained, and like that he's alive, and like, and then like it waits until the very end to explain like when the virus happened, this amount of people died, these amount of people became night breeders,
stalkers.
Night stalkers, whatever they call them. And these type of people were immune, and like it lets you develop what's going on. It doesn't tell you all at once, which I thought was really, really good. But then, like, I also feel like there's not a lot of plot armor, if you guys have ever heard that phrase, where it's like, oh, how is he alive? Well, it's just because. But it's like, the reason he's good with gun is because he's in the military. The reason that he's good with the vaccines is because, like, he's a vaccinist in the military. The reason that he's so organized is maybe because of his OCD. The reason that he never got hurt was because he
works out all the time.
He works out. Like, there's not just like, oh, he's just like Superman. Like, why does he have a dog? Well, it's because his daughter gave to him. Like, taking care of a dog is probably so much more work than just taking care of himself. But he keeps the dog because it means something from his daughter. Like, nothing was just there just because. Like, everything has a reason, and I really, really like that.
Yeah, it just, like, not Robert Neville, like, he, by himself, he can control the world that he lives in because there's no one else to interfere with it. And then, like, when those two people showed up and they interfere with his life, which was a good thing, like, he said, like, he wanted to find someone, like, anybody out there, you know, say something, you know. And then they finally show up and like, hey, we're here, we've heard your radio signal and stuff. And he's like, I need some time alone. And it's like, what? Like, he needs a minute to, like, you know, like to see like these are real people and they're alive and they have different opinions and stuff like that. But
another thing I was gonna say, this is kind of going back to the insane, like the sane thing. Is he like every day he's watching the news, but it's just like recorded stuff, you know, just and like watch. I'm sure when we see he quotes like Shrek, line for line, like. Which honestly probably would happen because you watch a movie so many times and like, I don't know, I just thought it was like cool. It's like, oh yep, that I could see like someone totally listening to a ton of Bob Marley music or memorizing a movie or like anything like that. So I like that too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're ready to move on. Makes him
way more human. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think we're ready to move on.
All right, this is our least and likes, least favorite scene, and our favorite scene. I'll go first. My least favorite scene is when Robert Neville kind of freaks out on what's-her-face, the girl who saves him, and he starts going off on how, because she believes, like, she believes that there's, like, a colony, and he asks why. She's like, I just know, because God told me, and then he kind of freaks out and tells her, like, there is no God. And that, I did not like that. And, you know, obviously he makes up for it at the end, you know, how he's like, oh, I've been listening, like, I realized why you came here. So I think that was really cool. But it's just, like, hard to hear. Because I get, like, not to get too deep here, I get that people have different beliefs and stuff like that. But I don't like it because Robert Neville kind of takes on this whole idea to, like, convince this girl that there is no God. And that's where I'm like, okay, what the heck? Like, come on, man. And I don't know. It was really, like, harsh to listen to, I think. Part is because I do believe in God, and I believe that, you know, God can, like, talk to us. And so, watching someone even though it's, like, a movie and everything, I just didn't enjoy that.
Yeah, that scene was a little weird. And the way she explained it, that she knows, like, you know, it's God's plan and stuff, it was a little weird how she explained it. And so Robert Neville kind of freaks out. Like, he just has all these scientific reasons of, like, you know, this many people got infected, this many people are immune to it, everybody's dead, and he's, like, just trying to convince you, like, solidly, and it's kind of a weird vibe to it. My least favorite scene, I'd have to say, it's kind of hard. There's a lot of really good scenes. The one scene I thought was a little weird was when he goes up to the mannequin where he had this whole premise with his dog. Like, I don't know what to say to her. Like, how do I say hi? Go up and say, hey, do you want to see some mutated rats? when he's in the cornfield, that was funny. But I'm talking about when he finally he loses his dog, goes up to the mannequin and says hi. That whole point where he's saying he's beginning to become insane. Like, he's starting to lose his mind, and then he goes out and goes kamikaze on the hive, and he goes to kill them all, and it doesn't work. That whole part was like, that was a weird scene when he's trying to talk to the mannequin. It's like, oh man, he's really lost. He's really lost it now. You know, but
see, I actually got to disagree with you there, and just because I feel like he was doing, like, fulfilling a promise to a friend kind of thing. I got more of the vibe like it was out of respect to, like, Sam, because he told Sam he was going to talk to her. So I don't know, like, I feel like that shows, like, kind of the mourning, like, the different stages of grief people have. If I were to, like, make a promise to someone and if they were to pass away, I would really, like, out of respect towards that person, feel like I should do that thing I promised. I don't know, that's what I got from it. I mean, you took it differently, which is fine, but...
I agree with Kelton on the promise part, but my least favorite scene is the scene where he's in his car, like, trying to run over all of them, Like, I understand that he's grieving and he has emotion, but, like, this guy has lived a calculated life for 3 years. I'm sure that before he makes decisions, even if emotion is connected to it, I mean, he lost his daughter and his wife. He's gone through grief before, and that doesn't make it any easier. But, like, I feel like it was just so uncharacteristic. Like, it's a natural human thing to do, but I feel like he has lived a calculated, like, cause and effect analytical life for 3 years that it was like, did you not think about what would happen? Like, did you really? I don't know. I just didn't like it. But yeah, my favorite scene though is the scene where Sam is hiding in that bank. That scene was intense.
Oh, like, my gosh, that scene was so intense.
Nuts.
Honorable mention though is the opening. I've talked about it a ton. The opening is just so good.
It's set up so well.
The favorite though is when that just, like, it's so
the
dark.
Dog runs into the dark building. And you're like, no, don't go in there.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
I 100% agree. And like I said, I've watched this so many times, and I turned over to Kate after he jumps out through the window and, like, survives and everything. I was like, dude, my heart was beating so fast. It was just so intense. I was totally wrapped up to it. I just think it's just a great scene. I loved it. So that's my favorite scene too. Cade? Is that your favorite scene as well?
That's my favorite scene. It was so, like, the whole thing, where the point where he's like, Sam, I gotta go. Like, I gotta go, Sam. He's like still looking for him, and it's like you hear this noise. I don't know. So was it the infected people that killed the deer, or was it Sam that killed the deer?
Yeah, that was an infected, because like you hear. What's the thing that's crazy about that is you hear the roar of the infected, and like you hear this big old smash, and that's when Robert covers up the light, and he's freaking out, and he's like, "Crap! Did they just like find Sam?" You know, because he doesn't know. And then he sees the giant blood stain up the stairs, and he sees like it looks like it could be the nose of a dog, and you're like, "Frick! Is that Sam?" Like, oh my gosh! And then he goes up, and then he sees the deer, and you're like, "Okay." So I'm sure there was like a infected person like chilling right there, like dormant or whatever, and the deer ran into it, so it freaked out, and then it like went upstairs and like went back to chilling or something. But yeah, it did make the scene that much more tense. Like the first time I was like, crap, is that the dog? Like, oh my gosh. And so it's cool because it sets up like, crap, something's here, you know. So it just makes it that much more intense.
You don't know where it is, and you just like cover up the light. It's like,
it's in the dark. You're just like, frick, keep the light off but on at the same time, like.
But the worst part about it, he sees it, he's like, close, he sees the hide, he's like, and he's walking on cash. He's like, it's really crumply, he's like, frick, dude, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
I really like that scene, though, that, like, it wasn't that he stepped on something, like, and snapped a twig type of thing and got them all to turn around. Like, he made it through that part okay. It was later, like, you know, kind of subverted the typical expectation there, which I really liked. It was just a really good scene. Well done.
Yeah. I agree. All right, time for our fall-in segment, Cade.
Yeah, let's take it away. This is the meat of the podcast. I mean, we've already dived into it quite a few times. This is a pretty interesting podcast right now, but this is where we talk about the messages, the hidden message in the movie that connects to us, connects to life, it's a show, overall message of what the movie wanted to portray as. And so this is it. Let's get to it. I'll start with my pick. I think one thing I wanted to point out for this was when they were driving there, when Robert Neville was taking his wife and his kid to get out of New York Island, and he's talking to him, and the wife is like, Did you just jump? Did it go airborne?" He's like, "Crap!" It's like just things are getting worse, and he's like, he turns to her. He's like, "You need to get out of here with us. You need to leave." And he's like, "No, like this is ground zero. I can still fix this." And so that's that whole conversation. What he said in that conversation to his wife, when the girl and the son show up, he says the exact same thing to them when they mentioned to go to Virginia to do that camp that's closed off. He says the exact same thing what he said to his wife 3 years ago. And when I watched this movie this time, I realized that he is stuck in that moment, and he's constantly, from what the movie portrays, he's constantly thinking about that day where he loses his family, and that he gets Sam as the dog, and that he lost them. He's like, I can still fix this. Where that's just his complete dedication to it, to where he can control his own world. He locks everything down. But he dreads the nights where the monsters come out and they're like looking for him, or they're just going out and doing stuff. And he dreads that day, but he's stuck in that moment 3 years ago, to the point where this girl shows up and actually presents a different idea. He refuses it because he's like, I still need to fix this. His mind just is like on repeat. So trying to fix it. And that's his life, and now he has to kind of adapt a little bit, and that's really hard to see him move on. And so I think that's a really good thing to point out, is that sometimes people, whether it's a traumatic experience or something that they want to accomplish, insanity is, trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. And in the end of this movie, he kind of reveals that Robert Neville is experiencing something similar to that, and that you might have a thought of like, I have a one-track mind of like, I need to accomplish this goal. It might be just to get over a loss of somebody, or to accomplish a goal in school, work, or some sort of sporting event, or some sort of just goal that you want for yourself personally. Is that I just had a thought, like, there's a story where this hockey player was trying to become better. He was training, and he hit this wall. he just couldn't get past it. And he met, was it Ronaldo? I don't know. It says very. It might be Ronaldo, but he meets him. That's the famous soccer player. He's like super good, and he asks like, "How are you so successful?" And he explained like his routine. Like, I go to the gym every day. I work out. I train. I practice all the time and stuff. Like, I just can't get past this wall. I haven't scored a goal in like in quite a few games, and I just don't know what to do. I change things, and then I'm like, I have this diet and everything, and then the soccer player tells him, "Go eat a cheeseburger." Just like completely go off your entire routine, like just trash it for one day and go eat a cheeseburger. And it was so odd. And so the hockey player ended up doing that. And the next day it was a game, and he went and played that game, and he scored 5 goals in that game. And like that message where you have to change up your routine, or like you yourself, just to adjust and adapt to new situations and stuff. And I think that's one of the messages that this shows, is that, you might think that you have it all together, or you might think that you have it figured out, that you just need to get a little more time to get toward your goal, but actually you need to change it completely than what you thought it was to achieve that goal, or to really find inner peace or just solace in yourself. I mean, that's one message that I thought this movie was portraying. What do you guys think?
I agree with a lot of what you said. Mine is like, if Kelton has something to say, I'm fine with waiting, because mine's like kind of taking a step out of the movie into the real world. But I agree with what you said 100%, Kelton. Or Cade. I agree with you, Cade. But Kelton, did you have anything?
Yeah, I get something from this every time, like something different. I just think it's really cool. For this podcast, I would just bring up, I don't know, just the whole idea of listening. I thought that was really cool. And for those of any of our listeners who aren't religious, that's okay. Like, I feel like that idea of being able to listen could apply to a lot of different things. Whether it's like your own needs, like being able to listen to something that you don't know you are struggling with, and being able to listen to what your body needs or your mind needs, and being able to make the change to help yourself, or whether it's someone else. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of power in listening, and I kind of got taught, that's what I got from watching I Am Legend today. Just the ability to listen and the ability to act on it in a good way. I really like that. So that's it. I know that's like a small fall-in, but that's just kind of my thought process right now.
I like it. I like what both of you guys had to say. The only thing that I really had to say was I just lost my train of thought. Oh, what I said earlier about the alternate ending, about like how he lives up to the commitment to his daughter, and he becomes a legend because of it, to the point where like he is the legend who saved humanity from a virus. And then something that's been on my mind is like kind of like the state of the world and the coronavirus, and how like life is really, really different right now, and life has opportunity to somewhat normalize, hopefully soon, and like when a vaccine is coming, and like things like that. Anyway, so like just like we don't really talk about things super real, but it's been on my mind a lot, and I think this movie has a good point about it. So here in the U.S., the death toll just reached. I don't want to get the wrong number. Hold on, let me tell you. I can edit this as well, but it was. Okay, so here in the U.S. for the coronavirus, COVID-19, the death toll has reached 50,000. So 50,000 people have lost their life to this virus. And there's probably not going to be a vaccine from the way the world works, like we learned with Contagion last week, but there's probably not going to be a vaccine until like 2021 at the soonest, unless a miracle happens. And there's already states here in the U.S. that are like mobilizing and kind of ending the quarantine, which whether you think that's good or bad or not, like I feel like the idea has become too focused that like life needs to get back to normal, and I hope that never happens. Like I don't want life to get back to normal for a lot of reasons. Like for a long time, there isn't going to be a life without the coronavirus. We are going to have to get to the point where we say, okay, this is life with the coronavirus. We're not just enduring something until it goes back to normal. Like right now is the new normal. Like we are going to have to live life with the coronavirus for a long time. Like, how do we do that? What does that mean? What type of precautions do we have to take? Types of things that I'm not a health expert and I don't have all the answers to, but I think it's something important to understand. But I also think like on like climate standpoint in the world, like you look at the world, how it's kind of like responded, like pollution is down, there's animals roaming the streets. Like if you kind of just look at like what's happening with the climate and how the world is almost like trying to take itself back in balance with everybody going inside, I hope that we don't just like let this go over and get back to normal. Like I hope that we move forward and allow ourselves to like change and adapt, and that from this point we can like say like, okay, whenever this vaccine comes and life is no longer with the coronavirus, like let's not just go back to how we were before. Like let's kind of like adjust to something better. And that's just been on my mind a lot. And especially just like the idea that it's not going to be life without the coronavirus anytime soon, but how can we live with the coronavirus? And how the movie presents that, like for 3 years, there was no like life without the monsters. It was life with the monsters. And how do you do that? And like even to the point where like you had a vaccine, that vaccine isn't instantly, like there was no instant cure for the movie. Like the movie even ended like these people still have to overcome a lot of things, and there's a lot of changes. You don't just have an instant fix, which I think is a perfect example of what is happening in our world. But that's all I have to say.
Okay. I think you're kind of right there, where you can't just, it's kind of like something bad happening doesn't, or like losing someone you love, or big change of pace where you graduate from high school, or you graduate from college, or you get married, or you have kids, or you retire. Like there's some points where you miss things of the previous, like kind of like the glory days that everybody refers back to, like things that you miss, and you can't just go back to the way it was. Like something does happen, you do have to move forward, and you can find a different normal. You can find happiness in what it is right now, and that there's this thing is right now. It's not going to go away. You can't just like wait it out. Like there's things that have to come about for it to come back to the point where it is a normal, where we can go back to like working, go back to outside, go back to sporting events. Go back to events. That's just where we all get together and physical touch. That it's gonna feel different when this is all over. It's gonna feel like relief, and we're gonna all be celebrate about it, we're all be happy about it when it's all over. But it's gonna be a little different. We're gonna be satisfied. We're gonna be happy. We can go back to a routine that's more of like out and about, but it is gonna be slightly different. So I probably agree with you on that.
Very cool. Well, for the sake of time,
I think that's a good place to end it. So, thanks everybody for listening. As always, this is a fun movie to watch. I'll revisit in it a year. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Again, we're kind of announcing some pretty exciting things. Got some sweet episodes coming up. If you want a sneak peek into what we're announcing later, just go check out our audiograph. The link to that is in the description, of course. You can get some insider perks there. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Subscribe for more. Ciao, ciao.
All right, what to do, baby?
We're going to work through this. Peace out, home dogs.